So let's get started. Hey guys, my name is Mate from Continent Surfer, and I am your host from Brisbane, and I'm going to speaking with Rennie today about mixed marriages. And actually, she is a super successful person. You guys are living, happily after like 8 years or so, right? But more to come from her. So first of all, Rennie, welcome to the show, and just tell us about yourself. What the hell is going on? I know that you're originally from Europe and then you moved to Australia, and here you found love again. So just tell us a quick story about yourself.
Thank you, Mate. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, my name is Renata Rustiak originally, and then I connected my husband's name, as you can tell, he's Jitendra Singh. So I'm from Budapest, from Hungary, Europe, and I came to Australia in 2016 and started building up life from scratch, myself and my two children. And then during this process, literally, my current husband, walked into our lives. And then about a year later, we got married. So
Wow.
we've been living together happily ever after. We promised 45 years to each other because we were 45 at the time when we met. And he was actually hiring. He's also in IT, and he was hiring. So we were joking about the hiring process and the interview questions and things like that. And then I was like, okay, I'm hiring you. And the contract term is 45 years. And actually, it's a renewing contract. So every year, when our wedding anniversary, we renew it for another 45 years. So it's going to be like a never-ending story.
But this is awesome. So he is working in IT and you are working in. So what is your background? You are not working in IT, that's for sure.
No, no,
But what
no,
is your
no.
background? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I have not only a mixed marriage, but also a very mixed background.
Huh?
When I graduated from high school in Hungary, I started guiding. So I started traveling the world, and already during high school, I learned 4 5 languages. And
Wait.
when
5? You said 5
yes,
languages?
yes, I
Mm-hmm.
speak English, Italian, French, German, some Spanish. I
Mm-hmm.
used to learn Greek, Hebrew, some Chinese, but then I dropped them, so I wouldn't call them. And of
Yeah,
course,
yeah. Who needs
Hungarian is
those?
my mother tongue.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And at one point, I also tried to learn Hindi, but because of my husband.
Uh-huh.
But the way I learn languages is that I also need to be able to read and write,
I
and
see.
I never really had the time, mainly to learn to read and write. So I pick up a lot of words from the Bollywood movies that we watch together, and of course they have English subtitles. But so when they talk in Hindi amongst themselves, then I manage to understand what they are talking about and get an idea, but I don't speak it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, going back to the previous question, I learned quite a few languages. I started traveling,
Uh-huh.
and I was working in tourism and in hospitality for
Mm-hmm.
a long time, 25 years. In between, I was also a lawyer because I
So
saw
wait,
that,
tourist and then lawyer. Okay, got
yes,
it. But for lawyer, just to ensure, for the lawyer, you actually has to have some kind of diploma in Hungary as well,
of
right? So
course,
you
yeah. 6 years university,
okay?
graduating, and another 3 years to do the bar exam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's
When did you
that's
have the
also
time?
part
So when did you have the time just to do that?
in
Okay.
between
Anyway.
tours, in between
Okay.
tours.
Okay. Okay. So you're not
So
working too much. Got it. Okay. So
no,
then
no.
you became a you became a lawyer. Okay.
Yes,
Got
I
it.
was a lawyer for a while, for a
Mm-hmm.
few years, and then I got married in Hungary,
Okay.
which pretty much ended my legal career in Hungary because I also got pregnant with my two children,
Mm-hmm.
and that made it very difficult to stay
Mm-hmm.
in that profession. So I went back to guiding and to tourism in general, cruising and things like that. So I became like a middle manager in Viking cruises
Mm-hmm.
that have lots of river cruises and ocean cruises. And then at one point, I thought that, okay, it's time to move continents or surf continents. And I ended up in Australia in 2016,
Okay. Okay. I mean, why not, right? So
where I had
there
to
was
build.
no. Okay, so
Sorry?
there was no country closer, right? So it's like, from Hungary, obviously,
Yeah,
the
all the
simple
way.
choice is Australia. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. You
Okay.
see,
No,
despite
I
being
got
a
it.
guide,
No, that makes sense.
I was
Yeah, yeah.
heading to Austria. But
And you just miss some, letters. Got it. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
the letters got jumbled up.
Okay. Anyway, so landed
Yeah.
in Australia, right?
Landed
You
in
still
Australia, and
okay?
I realized because you are still asking about my background, so
Yeah.
I realized fairly fast that tourism would have been my strongest background because I worked in it and I speak so many languages. I've been to about 75 countries, most of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
them
yeah.
multiple
Uh-huh.
times, things like that. So I thought it was an obvious choice
Okay.
to work for a travel agency. Nobody wanted me because they were really afraid that I would take over the whole company or something.
Okay.
So very quickly realized that obviously I cannot, or it would have taken a lot of time and a lot of money to convert my law degree
I got it.
to the Australian one, and nobody wanted me as a professional in tourism.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, what else can I do? Basically, the transferable skills from these two is all kinds of problem solving in
Mm-hmm.
administration. So now I ended up in finance. So I
Of
learned.
course. Of course. What else? Yeah, sure. Now,
So
now
I
I got
learned.
it. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I learned to become a bookkeeper and like some lower level of accounting,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I do now. So I work in finance.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you are not only surfing continent, but you are surfing, skill set as well, right?
Professions. Yeah.
Yeah, and professions. Yeah, maybe that's a better word. I mean, this is so cool. Okay, okay, but just hear me out. So in Hungary, right, you had a husband, right, who is Hungarian, right? But
Yes.
you are living in mixed marriage. So what happened, right? So you came to Australia with him or without him?
Without him, we
Okay,
divorced
without
before
him.
I
Okay,
came.
you have been divorced, right? And you came to Australia, and then
It was really, really a miracle because
okay,
what what happened was that I was here alone, like a single mom
okay,
with two kids,
okay,
and like I said, surfing between jobs and finding some stability in our lives. And obviously, at that stage, nobody really wanted to rent anything to us
uh-huh,
because I was alone with my two children, so we weren't really looking like stable tenants or things like that.
uh-huh,
So what happened was that I found someone on Airbnb
uh-huh,
who was a Fijian guy, and I rented a place for him. And once I decided that okay, we stay
uh-huh.
for a longer period of time, he has multiple properties, and he offered me to stay at another one which was closer to the school where my kids were going.
I mean, he's a great dude. I mean,
Yeah,
best
yeah,
respect
he
to him.
really is. He really is, and he's an even greater dude because while I was renting the first place from him, he had his best friend was my husband. So then
Wow,
it was
really?
him who was the matchmaker because he thought that we would make a good couple with my husband.
So he's from Fiji, right? I mean,
He's from
that's
Fiji,
really
and
dude has been just
yeah, I
realized that
mean,
hey, maybe
salt
that's a
and
good
pepper.
matching. So
Or,
based on what? I mean, you have two kids, right? And I don't know how was he imagining that hey, these two souls is coming together. So what
well,
was the
I don't know what he was thinking, but he was thinking properly, and he did everything. So when I was moving from one property to the other, he
uh
asked my husband to help move my stuff. So,
I
so my husband
see.
literally walked into to our lives,
Uh-huh.
and that's how this relationship started because he helped with everything. Then he came and helped with my car and helped with my son's laptop, and he helped with other things. And then bit by bit, all of a sudden, we we started living together. So he started cooking for us first,
Uh-huh.
and then I really saw that this relationship was becoming more serious, because in the beginning he would cook at home and
Uh-huh.
he would invite us over for dinner. But then one day he appeared with his basket of Indian spices and he put it down in my kitchen. And
Wow.
then then I knew that he meant it seriously and he was going to stay for good because he moved
Wow.
in with his spices. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's
And
a big
ever,
sin, but yeah,
and ever since he's been cooking for us. So
that's
yeah.
that's awesome. And
Yeah,
and
it really
sorry,
is.
sorry, you saying that he's from Fiji, but Indian spices, and what the
So he
heck is
has an
going on here?
Indian background.
Okay.
What what happened was is that back in the early 1800s,
Okay.
the British um, occupied the Fiji Islands,
Okay.
and they very quickly realized that the local population was not really keen on working on the sugarcane farms and for
Mm-hmm.
plantations. So they went to India and they hired people, and
From
they
India.
technically offered from India, from all kinds of, I mean, different parts of India, and they took them to Fiji, and they made them work at the plantation. So this is how a fairly large Indian population ended up in Fiji.
I didn't know
When
it.
I say fairly large, it's a couple of 100,000 people, because the total population of the Fiji Islands is about 800,000. So
It's not too much. So Fiji is
it's not that much.
it's
It's
really small.
small.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's small, and so anyways, a couple of hundred Indians, thousand Indians are living in Fiji, or people with Indian background, to be more precise,
Mm-hmm.
because uh, they they don't have exactly the same Indian culture as the Indian
Mm-hmm.
people do. One of the, I mean, two major differences is that the Fiji Indians have completely lost their caste system,
I see.
whereas, to my greatest surprise, even though it's been abolished in India for several decades, but it still exists and people
Yeah.
still
Yeah. Yeah.
operate on a daily
Exactly.
basis by that. Whereas in Fiji, really everybody is equal, and they really don't know, they don't have a caste, they don't care about it, they don't worry about it. And the other thing is that, like for instance, my name is Singh, but we cannot be 100% sure that this is the name of the ancestors, because those people who were recruited by the Brits to go and work on the plantations, obviously, no, they're not the most educated people of India. So when they signed the agreement, they would sign it with their thumbs, and or the what is it, the prints, and
Mm-hmm.
and they also lost in that process. They also lost the family names.
I see.
So there are Naidus, Kumars, Singhs,
Mm-hmm.
Gaundars, things like that. I mean, family names like that. But we cannot be 100% sure that this was really the family name back in India 200 years ago.
I got it.
Because
And
it's like 3 4 generations by now.
yeah, and it's really lost. I mean, you
It's
cannot
really
go.
lost. It's
Mm-hmm.
really lost. Like they maintain their culture, they maintain their traditions, their
The cooking,
everyday life, cooking. Yeah, the
the
cooking. But
spices.
for instance, the Fijian spices, the Fiji Indian spices are slightly different from the Indian ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we usually go to a Fiji Indian store to buy things, or we get things directly from
Oh,
Fiji.
there is Fiji Indian store as well.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
wow, this is
yes.
huge. And just tell me, how did he ended up in Australia? Was it in Brisbane those time, or Adelaide, or where
No,
you were?
he also works in IT,
Uh huh.
and he applied about 15 years ago or so to come to Australia. Back then, Australia was really looking for a lot of people in IT, so for him it was a fairly easy pathway,
Mm-hmm.
and he became yeah, he ended up in Adelaide about 13 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he's been living here ever since, and pretty much working at the same place ever since.
And have you ever thought about that you are going to have, you know, this kind of mixed marriage? So I mean, or did he ever think about that he's going to have a mixed marriage? Yeah.
So yes and no.
Uh-huh.
The very first time I came to Australia was in 2000, and I was
Mm-hmm.
visiting. I was staying at a friend of a friend,
Mm-hmm.
whose boyfriend at that time was Fijian.
I see.
So so in 2000, I already had like one Fijian connection, and then I remember that I was in Sydney, and I went to a bookstore and I saw a beautiful photo album of the neighboring islands, and I really fell in love with actually with Vanuatu, and um, and I was like, once in my life, I definitely have to go there, and I need to be there. So somehow, for a while, even my password was Vanuatu, 2010, 2011, things like that. So I was, my mind was really running on wanting to go this side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we went there on a cruise in 2020. So it took me 20 years between that bookstore in Sydney and really ending up on Vanuatu. But I did it. And apparently, when he divorced or he was divorcing his wife,
Mm-hmm.
he was also picturing in his mind that he wanted to have someone completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me that he actually pictured me, like really me, like a blonde, blue-eyed, brown-faced European from the other side of the world. So so we were sort of really calling each other energetically in the previous years, because what I was really wishing for, since my first marriage was not too peaceful, that for every birthday, whenever my ex-husband asked me what I wanted to get for my birthday or Christmas or name day or whatever, I always ask for peace and quiet, and the peace and calm and peace and quiet. And that was really driving him even more crazy. But this is what I ended up with. That I have a husband who is really peaceful, not that quiet, but he's very calm. He's very relaxed. He's really happy with himself, with the world, with the environment, with everything. So it makes life very easy, and makes living with him very easy, because we don't have any confrontations, we don't have any stress, we don't have any conflict between us, because it's really very easy to live with him.
but truth to be told, and I have to highlight this, right, based on my experience as well, it's easier to be calm in this country than, for example, in a European country. So it's and I can imagine from Fiji perspective, as an IT background, it's easier to get a good job here in Australia, which is paid well, which makes you being easy and calm. It's just an easier life, so it was easier for you to find somebody who is matching your needs here than, you know, in back in Europe.
Definitely, that's why I had to come here, because like
Uh-huh.
literally we come from the two opposite ends of the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's 12 hours time difference between
Yes.
Budapest and Fiji. So exactly, even if I had gone further, I would have been already closer.
Yeah.
So this is the maximum, and but we really clicked from the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning.
And that's what we are, you know, seeing, you know, here and, you know, content surfer and everywhere, but like, you know, people are changing because they know what actually they are looking for, and people are not changing because, hey, I would like to just be happier. So like you just said, you were mission driven about that, what you are looking for, and you found it, right? But you didn't say that, hey, I just would like to be, you know, just happier. No, I need calmness, I need, you know, opportunities and all this kind of stuff. You know, what is the country or what is the situation, what I'm looking for. I've been already, you know, seen lots of spaces, and, you know, hey, Fiji, you know, Australian stuff like that, it's working. And yeah, this is what it is. And sorry, we didn't speak about it, right? I'm in the click. And we didn't speak about it just for a second. When you came to Australia, right? With the kids, with everything, just for curiosity's sake, how did you get the visa, right? So did you had somebody, or did you try to do it all by yourself, or did you have any support, or how did you do that?
Initially, I had contacted a migration agent, and I thought that I was in good hands, but it turned out not to be the case. Then I contacted others for help, and then finally, this is how I met Sylvie, actually, and we started working together. But in the end, it turned out that since I already had a high level knowledge of English, so my IELTS was about above 8 back then. So then we agreed on that I could do my own visa application. So
how cool is that? It's totally fine and it's totally okay. It's not going to stop your visa process at all. You can free to change, free to ask, even though you can do your own stuff as well, right? I mean, as you said that you have IELTS, always the professional help and the advices is always, super helpful, right? But, you can do it. And congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. But I really recommend that those people who don't have a legal background and who don't, yes, I mean, if you don't have a legal background, if you don't have the habit of reading the fine print, if you don't understand fully what you're reading, then it's best to contact a migration agent or someone, even for a consultation, just to be on the safe side. Because if you mess it up, so partly it's a long process. Whatever visa you apply for, it's a long process. And there are so many questions and so many circular questions because they want to understand and they ask the same thing from completely different perspectives. And you can be lost in keeping answering the same things, but they want to understand that you're really telling the truth. And they really want to. So I think it's very important that you should only try to do your own visa application in any country, but especially in Australia. If you speak the language almost as your mother tongue, and if you have like a legal background or a very high educational background. Otherwise, I think it's recommendable to ask for the help of migration. Because if you mess it up, then the second time it becomes harder, and if you mess it up and they ask for more, then it becomes harder and harder.
Exactly, because they are just feeling that you are just not trying to be truthful, and they are just asking more proof. And guys, just providing the proof is not always as easy because they are just going back in time, and you are not have the paper, you are not have the references, you are not have everything, right? So it's just harder and harder to prove of the things. By the way, Content Surfer can help, right? So on the website you can always find, links and suggestion. And the other things what I would like to ask you, Renata, about this one is, you said that coming here it was not so easy to have the renting and everything, and at the end you were in a good hand. But this is what we are talking about, when we are trying to have to settle in somebody in some place, right? To, have the local knowledge, and obviously can use the internet and whatever, right? But it's always better if you have somebody who can tell you, hey, you need this number, hey, you need this proof, hey, prep up for this kind of thing, which is over the immigration. But hey, if you would like to rent out, you have to prove that you have money, you have references, you have whatsoever. Hey, if you would like to buy a car, you need this kind of stuff. Also, once again, Content Surfer can have that. Let's go back to your marriage.
But really talking about rent for a second, because for instance, I owned different properties in Hungary, right? I never rented before. So I came to Australia and I was really surprised that they want my rental history, which I had none. At the age of 45, I had zero rental history because I always outright owned my properties.
Exactly.
So these are the things where you can mess up. Are two things: when you don't know something, or you think you know but you don't know it correctly.
Exactly.
Right? So
and you don't know what you don't know. That's the biggest problem.
And you don't know what you don't know. That's the thing.
Yes.
You think that, okay, things will work like in Europe, or things will work like people were giving me advice based on the US. Oh, Australia must be like the US, so you do this, you do that, you do whatever. But the US has 300, 400 million inhabitants on the same size of landmass, where Australia only has 26 million. So obviously, the infrastructure and the opportunities are completely different, and the services are completely different. So, so you
And
really need to ask, if you start this process from scratch and you are still at home, the best is to contact people who are already on the spot and have already gone through this process, so then they can give you first-hand information and correct one.
let's go back. Sorry, Renee. Let's go back to the mixed marriage kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, okay. So you guys, you have been, came together, and how
Yeah.
was the family reacting?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because obviously this is the second marriage for both of
Ah, yeah,
us.
yeah.
So we had already gone through a painful divorce, painful first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we got together, we both pretty much knew what we definitely didn't want, and pretty much knew what we would like
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship. And we were focusing on ourselves, so we didn't really pay attention what others were saying, although they, like, friends were very supportive, and I get that compliment fairly frequently, that amongst all the couples that certain people know, some of our friends, that we are by far the happiest couple, because and it shows, and they can tell that we are not just showing off, or we just pretended, but we are really happy and relaxed, and we have a really good relationship. To some extent, it was easier because, I mean, both my husband's and my parents had passed away by the time
I'm sorry to hear.
we got married, so there were no in-laws. I have a stepmother whom I consider as a real mother. She's very happy to have my husband, and she happily meets him and wishes him and prepares and food and everything whenever we go to Hungary to visit. She is always keen to meet him, and it's mutual. I don't have siblings, so from that side, it's easy. My husband was one of six children.
Hmm.
One son passed away, or one brother passed away, but he still has two younger brothers and an elder and a younger sister. We are in very good relationship with all of them. We are happy. They are very happy when we go to Fiji. The elder sister and her family were just visiting us a few weeks ago here in Adelaide, with the whole family, grandma and children and everyone. So it really clicked easily. I
This is
mean,
so good to hear. I mean,
yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
this is amazing. This is fun, right? Because that's your second marriage, so you exactly know that, and that was his second marriage. You exactly know that what you are looking for, and hey, no more fame. I just would like to live, a happy life. Can you imagine that? By the way, this marriage or this kind of flicking things would be able to happen in Europe or in Hungary, right, where you are coming from, or it has to be happened in Brisbane. So in reality check, what is the chance you are hooking up somebody in Europe or in Australia?
uh, I think it's harder in Europe or in
Mm-hmm.
any other continent, because Australia has over 240 registered ethnic groups
Mm-hmm.
living or trying to live happily together in this country. So it means that people are a lot more tolerant, a lot more inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more accepting each other and each other's background. There's a lot less expectation, to be honest. I think most workplaces, like even like Harmony Day, is coming up in March, and usually the workplaces try to introduce the different cultures to the colleagues of the other cultures, so that people can really work and live beside each other in a peaceful manner. Our next door neighbor is an Afghan family,
Wow.
It's an elderly man, an Afghan man, with his wife, and he had 5 daughters. So luckily, he came in time to Australia back like 30 years ago. All of his daughters are highly educated. One of them is a surgeon, and all the other daughters are highly educated. We are really good friends. We buy them gifts for Eid. They bring us gifts for Christmas. They look after our house when we go on trips. We look after their house. So it doesn't matter that I'm Christian, my husband is a Hindu, and they are Muslims, right? We have friends from Bangladesh. We have friends from Fiji, from Egypt, from Ethiopia, from Ireland, England, everywhere. So it's a very good mix, and this is what you were talking about before as well. That this country is a lot more laid back, and it's a lot more relaxed and a lot more accepting than any other country that I would have visited. The 75 where I've been to, um,
75. Wow.
75. So
Wow.
this really takes out a lot of stress factor out of your life because it's a lot easier to live here,
It's
especially
so
in Adelaide.
Adelaide. Yeah.
It's like even when like I can drive. I've been driving ever since I was 17 years old, right?
Hmm.
And I drive every day. I can drive both on the left side and the right side. I drive automatic and manual. I drive small cars and I drive trucks as well if needed. So here you really get relaxed in driving, right? Because
Oh,
people
absolutely.
maintain the rules.
Yes.
Nobody is really rushing. Nobody tries to overtake you and cut in and do slaloms and things like that because they know that they will get there. They don't have, even if they are 5 minutes late, they will get there. They don't need to rush. Then the moment I land in Hungary and I have to rent a car, it's a nightmare. I
It's
start
a
writing
nightmare.
my will in my head because it's literally a life-threatening experience.
Absolutely.
So all the stress and everything comes out when people are in traffic as well. So here
Hmm.
you can really experience that people are relaxed. Most people, I mean, obviously
Yeah,
there are
obviously there are.
stupid
Hmm.
people everywhere, but like a few months ago, we were in Brisbane because we
Hmm.
went to do a 1 day flight over Antarctica. So
Hmm.
we flew from Brisbane and we stayed there. But even there, we could drive. Like rented a car, started driving. We didn't have
Oh,
any
Brisbane is super
issues.
peaceful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
it's definitely had to be this environment. I think it's easier and how can I say? I think it when it is about between mixed cultures, it also has to be so that it works for both parties. It also has to be that both parties are tolerant and accepting and inclusive, and also that the culture itself is tolerant, right? Because the Hindu culture is very um, is very tolerant. It doesn't want to convert you. It doesn't. It's a way of living, and it's a way of peaceful living, right? Don't hurt others. Um, don't do any harm to even to the smallest animal or to the smallest plant and things like that. It's really a mentality and a way of living.
I mean,
Christianity is a different story, but I am not too devoted Christian. So that also helps that we don't have any religious or any cultural expectations from one
so you
another.
are keeping the principles, but not the belief, right? So this is
Yeah,
how it's,
yeah.
yeah.
It's we keep the traditions and we
And the
we
principles,
let's
yeah.
say we celebrate Diwali and.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, like this last year, Diwali fell on the Day of the Dead in uh,
Uh-huh.
in Europe. So I would light a candle for my
Hmm.
parents who passed away and grandparents. But at the same time, I dress up nicely in Indian outfit and go to celebrate Diwali, the feast of the light. with my
Hmm.
husband and our friends.
And that's
So
absolutely fine.
it's absolutely fine. I think
I
so.
mean, I believe in the normal culture. That's absolutely fine if you are not trying to, hey, my belief is stronger than yours, and this is what we are going to
Yeah.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, if you respect the other party and you respect what the other party believes in, it makes and you don't, how can I say, if you don't want to be right all the time and you don't want to ensure that you always win, then it makes life a lot easier and a lot more peaceful.
Yeah, I'm realizing this with the kids, right? If I'm not trying to be right all the time, then it's
Mhm.
easy going.
How many do
But
you have?
I have three, but they
Three.
are getting to the teenager stuff, right? So it's insane.
Uh, yeah.
What I wanted to say, and that was, I was just checking something when you were talking about that. So you have an Afghan, neighbor who has, one daughter who is,
Oh,
a surgeon.
oh
Or
yeah.
yeah, I know that one daughter who is a surgeon. And this fun fact, I just spoke with, some other people about mixed marriage, and that was a Hungarian dude named Donny, and he has an Afghan, he has an Afghan wife who is,
Mhm,
as working as a doctor. They are, living here next to Brisbane, like, I
mhm.
believe
Yeah,
400
yeah.
kilometer away. I don't remember the city, right? But it's just so cool, and they have a mixed marriage as well. And he just explained the same stuff. What is important is really the principles, and the including other people's and other belief, and not trying to fight and having right. It's just to find a way to how to live together peacefully,
Mm.
which all does matter. And what would you say? So, I mean, every marriage and every kind of relationships is coming with some kind of price. So, you have been to spoke about a lot of things, which was great, right? Peacefulness and all this kind of stuff. What did you have to change? Just to make this work.
I mean, I have been happily gave up cooking
Ah,
because
okay.
because
I
my
gave up.
husband
I gave up
realized,
cooking as well.
yeah, but in a usual relationship, it would be the
I
wife
got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, so
daily
you gave up
daily
cooking.
task.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave up cooking because I never really liked it, and my husband is a far better cook. So every
Okay.
night, now and then, when he's tired, then I would cook something, or when we cook together, or I help
Mhm.
him. But other than that, he took over the kitchen completely,
Uh-huh.
which I am really happy about. Um, Other than that, I mean, look, I mean, obviously, I think you would not be able to marry into a culture that you don't like, because
Absolutely.
if you don't like anything about it, or there are things that you don't accept, or you don't, or despise, or you just completely disagree with, then it makes convivence, and it makes the everyday life very difficult. The good thing is that I had been to India before. My husband has never been to India, so I know more about his background to some extent that than he does. I really enjoy watching Bollywood movies with him. I really enjoy wearing saris and langas and all these Indian outfits and jewelry, and going to these parties, because for me it's like being in the Thousand and One Night, that
Hmm.
fairy tale. So,
I got
anyways,
it.
I was really impressed when I was in India for a month. I traveled quite extensively with an Indian family back then, and I really love that country. I love the colors, I love the people, I love the spices. I think I'm the only European who ever gained weight while visiting India, because usually white people would get the belly belly and would lose about 5-10 kilograms. In 1 month, I gained 8 kilograms while
So
traveling
you
in
really
India.
enjoyed it.
So I really enjoy it. I enjoy the cuisine. I enjoy. We went to weddings. We went to one wedding to and one engagement party. I enjoy these cultural events. So
And this is so cool in
it,
India. Everybody's speaking English, right? So you were
yes,
speaking English
yeah,
with them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
cool stuff, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah.
So they
That
are
makes
just,
it easier.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This is awesome. Unfortunately, I our time is over, but I have so much more question. So we are definitely going to try to find some time, just to continue
Yeah.
this conversation. But guys, folks, thank you for listening in, and sorry just to cutting you there. I know that you have a lots of stories, once again, but we have to be just mindful about the time. So thank you for guys. Don't forget to check out continentsurfer.com, and once again, Rennie, thank you so much for the interview. I really hope
Thank
that
you,
we can,
Matthew.
speak with you soon. Thanks.
Yeah, me too. Thank
Continent
you.
surfing without taboos. Interviews with people who have already done it. Long form conversations with our partners who answer your questions. We now reach more than 30 countries. Avoid painful surprises. Subscribe now.